Almost business as usual. A key development for a controversial horse rescue operation in Valley Center.
More investors and private companies have become interested in this space because they see the costs coming down for batteries especially.
Fueling change in California. The Escondido company that hopes to get large diesel engines off the road.
And then it morphed. And then it became the synonym for let's get high. And then it moved all across the country.
Counting down to 420, the high school tale behind marijuana's unofficial holiday. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Ebone Monet. California National Guard troops are heading to the border. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has an update on a new agreement hammered out by Governor Jerry Brown in the White House.
The move has been on again, off again since last week. Governor Jerry Brown has just announced that he will call up 400 National Guard troops as part of a multi-state effort along the border. The two sides have been negotiating, but the governor's terms remain largely unchanged. The troops will not enforce immigration law. They will not necessarily be amassed along the border as they are in the other states. Instead, the 400 troops will add to the 240 National Guardsmen who are already working with the federal government in various missions to fight international drug crime. 55 of those troops are already in San Diego, including a handful which work with the U.S. Coast Guard providing surveillance. Though the federal mission has no particular end date, the governor's order does go until September 30th, unless both sides agree to an extension. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
High Caliber Horse Rescue, a Valley Center nonprofit mired in allegations of fraud and animal abuse, was recently cleared to fundraise again after filing financial information with the state. iNews Source reporter Brad Racino has more.
The action comes about a month after the California Attorney General's office prohibited High Caliber from soliciting donations because it hadn't submitted 2016 paperwork detailing revenue, expenses, and other disclosures required of nonprofits. The paperwork shows High Caliber reported taking in more than $1 million in 2016, the majority from contributions and grants. High Caliber board member Robin Armstrong kicked off a Facebook Live video from the ranch April 6th with the news.
You guys are as excited as we are? Seriously, we've been gone a month not being able to fundraise.
At least 10 local and state agencies continue to be involved in investigating the nonprofit, including the San Diego County District Attorney's Office and State Veterinary Medical Board. 4 former High Caliber board members told iNews Source they never saw the organization's financials from 2013 to 2015, despite federal filings stating they had been shared with the board. Now, one of those board members filed a complaint with the Internal Revenue Service. Another, High Caliber's former veterinarian, shared equine medical records with the state for its investigation. iNews Source attempted to interview the 2 new board members listed in the 2016 filings, Brittany Lindell and Kim Rowe, but both declined the request. High Caliber's founder, Michelle Natilla, did not respond to an iNews Source request for comment. For KPBS, I'm iNews Source reporter Brad Racino.
iNews Source is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. For more on High Caliber, go to inewssource.org. Multiple media reports say layoffs are coming to San Diego-based Qualcomm, including the San Diego Union Tribune and our media partner, 10 News. KPBS has not been able to independently confirm the information. Qualcomm has so far refused to comment on the reports, which say as many as 1,000 workers could lose their jobs. This is a developing story. We'll bring you more information as it becomes available. A San Diego City Council committee today collected ideas to battle the region's housing crisis. KPBS reporter Taryn Minto says the discussion began with how to preserve units that are already affordable.
More than 1,200 affordable units in San Diego were lost over the last 2 decades because of expiring agreements to keep rent low. And another 2,300 units are at risk over the next 5 years. That's according to San Diego Housing Federation's Stephen Russell. He says one idea to address the problem is appointing a preservation coordinator.
To develop a comprehensive database of all affordable housing and annually analyze the risk of conversion to the highest risk properties by adopting a risk assessment methodology.
Russell also suggested better educating landlords and tenants about housing laws, improving protections for renters, and boosting funding and resources to purchase affordable units when the agreements expire. Taryn Mento, KPBS News.
The committee's chair says it will work with Russell and other stakeholders to turn ideas into action. Caltrans says trash is piling up along highways in San Diego. Officials there attribute the increase partially to an uptick in homeless encampments. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
This is 2 weeks of trash picked up around San Diego.
That's a constant issue on our highways, mattresses, refrigerators. In this case, there's a water heater.
The California Department of Transportation, or Caltrans, says it usually spends around $5.3 million a year cleaning up San Diego and Imperial County highways.
We bring out probationers, parolees. They help to provide that, and they help to perform a litter pickup.
Despite that, this year, trash costs are rising.
So far, it's 4.8. I think, we're still got 2.5 months left in this fiscal year. So it's hard to tell, but we expect to be about the same or more.
Caltrans says this year it has seen an increase in homeless encampments.
It's common for encampments to occur under some of our bridges, most of our bridges. Sometimes it's not as visible to the traveling public.
People caught littering face up to a $1,000 fine and possibly community service. Caltrans says Interstate 5, followed by the 805, is where most trash is found in San Diego. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A deadly bout of the flu is slowing in San Diego County. Still, 6 more people have died, as reported last week. That brings this season's total to 339 compared to 85 this same time last year. County health officials say this flu season has been especially severe, and the medical community has gotten better at tracking it. Although the number of reported cases is on the decline, health officials say everyone 6 months and older should still get vaccinated. Signature gathering is expected to begin soon for a marijuana initiative in Encinitas. KPBS North County reporter Allison St. John says it would allow marijuana cultivation and manufacturing, plus up to 4 legal dispensaries in the city.
Encinitas, like all other North County cities, has decided not to lift a ban on commercial cannabis activities. But now it will be the second city after Vista to see a recreational marijuana initiative headed for the November ballot. Mayor Catherine Blakespear says she personally would have preferred to wait, but she's willing to go ahead if voters want that.
There's a group of people that want to bring marijuana businesses to the city right now. And my feeling is that we'll adapt to that and we'll be able to manage it if that is what people want. But we'll leave it up to the voters to see if that's what they really want.
Dallin Young of the Association of Cannabis Professionals says if it passes, the initiative is written to allow the City Council to modify the provisions after 3 years.
We don't want to have to do this. We'd like councils to do this, and so we wanted to get this going forward, to show that the community does want this, and then we want to put it back in the hands of council.
Young says the initiative includes a provision that businesses would be automatically granted permits by right if they meet all the legal requirements. In La Mesa and Lemon Grove, voters have already approved marijuana dispensaries, but none has yet opened because of local opposition. Signature gatherers only have a couple of months to collect at least 4,600 signatures to qualify the measure for this year's ballot. Young says Encinitas may not be the last city in San Diego County to see a marijuana initiative campaign this year. In the North County Bureau, Allison St. John, KPBS News.
Friday marks the unofficial high holiday for marijuana. Parties are planned around the world, all with the hope of lighting up at 4:20 p.m. local time. AP reporter Haven Daly explains how it all started.
When the clock strikes 4:20, pot smokers say it's time to light up. And when April 20 comes around, it's time to celebrate the unofficial marijuana holiday.
I was at a concert the other night and I saw people in the parking lot selling t-shirts and coffee mugs and all of this. They don't really know. They don't have an idea where this story really came from.
According to these 5 lifelong friends, the 420 story started here in the early 70s at their high school outside San Francisco. The group often hung out on a wall outside the school and thus earned the nickname the Waldos. One day, the Waldos came across a treasure map showing where some marijuana was supposed to be growing in the woods. Since some of the Waldos had after-school activities, they decided to meet by this statue to start their treasure hunt at 420.
And for us, it was a no-brainer. You know, you're 16-year-old kids and free weed, so that was it.
Back in early 70s, weed was not easy to get like it is now. So like a bunch of typical high school kids, we're all, hell yeah, we're on this. Let's go find this possible free patch of weed.
We never found it, but we had a lot of fun trying.
They continued using the term 420 as a secret code.
And then it morphed. And then it became the synonym for let's get high. And then it moved all across the country.
We went away to college. Our college classmates use it, city to city, state to state, country to country. Next thing, it's on hats, it's in t-shirts, in movies.
A local brewery even made a beer to honor the Waldos. There are others who claim they created the 420 phenomenon, but the Waldos say they're the only ones who have proof in the form of post-dated letters using the term and other documents.
You know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but we've got the facts.
Marijuana is now legal in California, and the Waldos say they're proud they helped create what's become a worldwide pot celebration. Haven Daily, Associated Press, San Francisco.
With the June primary election approaching, KPBS News is taking a closer look at the issues and candidates. I sat down with Democrat Amar Campa-Najjar, a candidate for the 50th Congressional District currently represented by Republican Duncan Hunter Jr. I asked the former Obama administration official why he calls himself the people's candidate.
I'm positioning myself to be the candidate that is selected by the people of this district and not selected by Washington insiders. There are other candidates who have been selected by the establishment. You could tell because they've gotten large infusions of money by Washington insiders, career politicians. Ours is a people-powered movement, and we've outraised everybody in the field with nothing but individual contributions and a collection of contributions from working-class people. My campaign is fully funded by people and for people.
And speaking of the people, what did you learn from your time with the Obama administration about what it will take to bring jobs to the 50th District?
It's a great question. I think what informs my experience is more than just serving in the Obama administration, is I myself was a member of the working class. My mom raised me by herself through being broke and brokenhearted. At the age of 15 and a half, I worked as a janitor to help my mom pay the bills. So I've experienced the pain of it, I've seen the problem of it, but I've also seen the solution of it. And my district, it is double the unemployment rate of the rest of San Diego County, and that's happened under Duncan Hunter's failed leadership. When I was at the Department of Labor, we worked on a program called Apprenticeship. It pays double the median income in America, and it pays $70,000 a year. I want to bring those jobs back to this district at a time when we need it most. People are living paycheck to paycheck, they're working more for less, and the truth is, we have to invest in our people, our schools, reduce healthcare costs, and bring people back together again. One of my volunteers says, we don't need a hunter anymore, we need a gatherer, and that's what I'm trying to do, is bring people together again.
What would you actually do in Washington, D.C. to make that happen?
Yeah, so right now we only spend $90 million a year on a program called Apprenticeship. Germany spends $1 billion a year. I'd like for us to spend $1 billion a year on putting people back to work, working with unions and community college on trade school. If we did that, I think a lot of folks who come to, let's say, San Diego State University, who aren't really ready or prepared or know why they're here, they're just coming, and then they find out later on they want another career path. If we move them to trade school, we would free up funds for those who have a plan to graduate here and be able to give these other people a pathway towards a good career that pays double the median income. What I'd like to see is maybe take some spending on the wall, which, by the way, Duncan Hunter Sr. helped build the previous wall, and it reduced apprehensions by 95%. Why are we going to spend American taxpayer on a wall that we don't need? I'd like to see that funding go to build up working families instead of building another wall that we don't need.
Your father's an immigrant, and your mother, I believe I read that, were her parents immigrants?
Yes,
or? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
So you have that in your background. How has that impacted your perspective when it comes to policies, maybe immigration reform?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I think that what we need is to bring people out of the shadows. I talk to people in my district, conservatives, who say, you know, we're concerned about criminals and drug dealers and rapists and killers. What I tell them is, you know what? That person getting an education isn't in that category. That young person who came here through no choice of their own, those dreamers who are contributing to our economy and way of life, it's not them. In fact, you know who the biggest victim of undocumented criminals are? Other undocumented immigrants. But they can't report it because they'll be deported. We need to stop demonizing the immigrant community. A lot of them contribute to our economy and way of life. What I'd suggest is we give them status so they could report these criminals, these drug dealers, these killers, that are a very small section of the broader immigrant community. Immigrants make America more American, and my family is an example of that.
43% of registered voters in the 50th district are registered as Republicans. And for the last 16 years, they've actually voted Republican for this congressional seat. So what makes you think that you can win the votes?
Yeah, well, I mean, things are changing. Like, my campus is changing here at San Diego State. Times are changing, realities are changing, and this district has been controlled by one family for 4 decades. People want fresh leadership. Look, we flipped Alabama. Don't tell me we can't flip the 50th. We can by turning out young people, minorities, women, lifelong Democrats, and even Trump supporters that I've talked to. They're not ignorant. They're ignored. 9 million of them voted for Obama in 2008. And they voted for Trump in 2016. They're okay with sending a skinny brown guy with a funny name to Washington. They've done it before. And people don't know this, but did you know that our district actually voted for Bernie Sanders over Hillary Clinton in the primary? That Escondido, where 30% of all voters live, voted for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump. So people will look past my hues if they hear my views. I care about people's education. I don't care about their personal politics. I care about their personal health, their personal safety, and their personal financial dignity. If we run on those issues, I guarantee you, nothing lasts forever. We could flip the 50th, just like we flipped Alabama and so many other races in the special election year.
Amar Campa-Najjar, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
As the June primary nears, KPBS News will continue to reach out to candidates. Tomorrow, we'll hear from Democrat Josh Butner. The former Navy SEAL is also running to unseat Republican Duncan Hunter Jr. You can see more of our election coverage at kpbsnews.org.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, a secret mission. What CIA Director Mike Pompeo's meeting with North Korea's leader means for nuclear negotiations. Coming up at 7, right after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Could wildfires contaminate chicken eggs? Researchers from UC Davis want to know. They're taking a closer look at eggs from backyard chickens in the wake of fires that burned from Sonoma to San Diego County last year. They want to know if contaminants from the flames affected the eggs. If so, UC Extension advisors will put out safety guidelines for people who raise backyard chickens in those environments. We're seeing windy and cool weather here in San Diego with some high waves expected along the coast. Julia Wyden says we may see some showers in tonight's forecast.
Those blustery onshore winds continue straight through tonight and through tomorrow as well. I'm meteorologist Julia Wyden. The wind's going to stir up some rough seas. I think we could see waves at around 5 to 8 feet. So be aware of that if you do plan on maybe getting out towards the beach. There is a small craft advisory still in effect. A little cool right now. The reason that we have those winds that are out there is because of a cold front that's moving through. But into the weekend, temperatures will be back on the rise. Let's take a look at our satellite and radar. Not much to show around here right now, but as you zoom up farther to the north, you can see wet weather for folks in Central California. There's a trough. You can actually make it out a little bit on our satellite imagery there. That little dip that you see, that's that trough that's going to be moving on through, that cold front that's going to eventually introduce some cooler air. But again, things will get a little bit better for the weekend. Might produce a few showers around here for tomorrow. But you can see 7 a.m. there's not a whole lot to show. A little batch of cloud cover tries to sneak its way through and again could produce a couple showers during the afternoon hours, but it moves out pretty quickly. So by the evening it is back to clear skies. Tonight, 56 degrees, partly cloudy. Let's take you around the area. Folks at the coast will be in the upper 40s up towards Oceanside. Into the mountains, we're looking at temperatures that are pretty varying from 30s to 50s for your overnight lows. And for tomorrow, again, watching some enhanced cloud cover, perhaps a shower or two. I think it's going to be really spotty. It's definitely not going to be an all-day washout. Again, just 1 or 2 showers and high temperatures mostly in the 50s to 60s. Again, there's that cold front coming through. As it moves its way on off to the south and east, it will increase the winds, especially in the desert areas. Around here, we'll have those blustery onshore winds. Over the weekend, expect to see temperatures coming back into the low 70s. That's after only topping out in the 60s at the coast on Thursday. A few showers around inland, 62 degrees Thursday, but 70s and even 80s as we get into the weekend. In the mountain region, it is going to be blustery. High temp Thursday, only 43, but coming up to the 60s for the weekend. And for folks in the deserts, we want to remind you that with those winds, we could be stirring up some dust, so be mindful of that for Thursday. Weekend, back to the heat. Temperatures in the 90s. Back to you, Ebony.
An Escondido company is helping fuel change in the nation's cargo moving industry. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson takes a closer look at the engine that could be the power source of choice at ports.
From the outside, this school bus looks like any other. But lift the hood and the difference is obvious. Gray boxes sit where a diesel-powered engine used to be. In fact, TransPower technicians physically remove the emission-spewing diesel engines from buses, cargo haulers, and trucks.
What they've taken out of the truck is this huge diesel engine. And what they're going to do is they're going to replace that diesel engine with their electric components. It'll just slide right in here.
The company's engineers have built an electric system that can slip into the space where the diesel engine used to be. Joshua Goldman stands next to a cargo hauler that's inside the company's Escondido facility.
To the operator, it's just another truck. In fact, there are 2,000 longshore workers at the ports of California that any given Sunday could jump into any given diesel electric truck, so it needs to feel just like any other truck they've had without any retraining.
The TransPower vehicles look the same on the outside, and they're designed to be similar, but it's clear they're different when a driver hits the accelerator. That whine is the truck picking up speed. The vehicles have powerful electrical engines that can haul up to 80,000-pound payloads, but they create just a whisper of the sound generated by comparable diesel vehicles. Goldman says the electric technology is getting better.
From the initial batteries we bought 6 years ago to the batteries today, it's 1,000 times more reliable. The quality is much better. We don't have to weed out as many weak cells in the system to provide a more reliable truck to our customers.
Those technological jumps are coupled with lower costs. The batteries in TransPower's first trucks cost about $1 million per vehicle. A new truck today gets a battery system that's twice as powerful for $150,000 to $200,000.
Well, the big picture is that electric power makes a lot more sense to use for most types of vehicles.
Mike Simon founded TransPower back in 2010. He says California's push for clean air gets a lot of credit for driving his company's innovations. Simon says TransPower is enjoying success because it's working on the right product at the right time.
More investors and private companies have become interested in this space because they see the costs coming down for batteries especially, and they see that consumers want choices that are healthy for the environment.
The trucks rolling out of the Escondido company's front door still have a long way to go. California's subsidies aimed at cleaning up pollution on port properties help bring down the final cost of the vehicle, but without that financial help, they'd be 3 times as expensive as a comparable diesel vehicle. Simon sees that changing sooner rather than later.
There will be a turning point where the public subsidies will be reduced and more of the investments will come from the private sector just because it naturally is cost effective to do this.
And there's a potentially huge market. San Diego has a small port, but the Port of Long Beach is a massive facility that uses thousands of trucks. And there's the potential that electric trucks could make inroads into the long-haul market. Kevin Wood is a clean transportation specialist at San Diego's Center for Sustainable Energy. He says momentum is building.
We're going to see, steady and slow growth for the next 5 years or so as the technology matures and the prices start to come down. After 5 years, we might see more rapid growth.
Wood says government incentives are the current market's drivers, but falling costs, rising reliability, and the push for cleaner air could overtake that.
As long as people are buying stuff, we need a way to move that stuff around. And so there's really no alternative to cleaning up the freight sector.
Wood expects this niche market to grow slowly, with that growth picking up speed in 4 to 5 years. TransPower could be one of the companies leading the charge. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
For the 24th time, SpaceX successfully recaptured a Stage 1 rocket after launch this afternoon. It landed on a barge in the Atlantic Ocean. The payload this time is NASA's newest planet-hunting spacecraft. The test satellite will look for planets that might have life beyond our solar system. SpaceX reuses their rockets to help keep costs down. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.